Welcome to SwitchCorner, my name is Alex, and today we're going to be taking a look at Deadcraft on the Nintendo Switch. Perhaps one of the most unique ideas I've seen in a long time, a combat-heavy, zombie-focused sim with farming elements and crafting as well. That is a description I never thought I would say, so hit subscribe, join us here on SwitchCorner for reviews, deals, and just kind of intro breakdowns just like this one, near daily, and let's get started. Deadcraft then tells the story of Reid. You are a half zombie, half human being that arrives in a new town. He is chasing an individual known as Nebron. He lives in the Ark. In fact, Nebron rules the Ark, a city in the wastelands of a post-apocalyptic world that has more than a few similarities to Mad Max. Quickly though, we are nearly killed, it seems, on an attempt to enter the gates. Now it is uncovered quickly that we are a zombie hunter. We had a partner and they were killed. Their last words, Nebron's name. So now we're basically out to uncover the truth and also at the same time, of course, out for revenge. This is not a world that likes our kind, that is for sure. Now on the outskirts of town then we do find a settlement. These are the outcasts of the Ark and they agree to help, but in return they do want your assistance before they'll get you into this location. There's a decently sized cast of characters in here, though willing to add context to this world. You'll find that there's a fairly sizable amount of side quests too, and then a whole host of secrets and unique individuals. It's structured in the sense of locations, and it's more of a preview as I just entered the Ark location. That was after roughly 6 hours of gameplay. So gameplay, and this is a unique combination of mechanics, and at the highest level I'd look at it as survival, exploration, farming, crafting and combat, but it's definitely going to evolve as well along the way. Starting with the survival elements, so that's going to be a health meter and an energy meter that you must ensure does not drain. Where it gets unique though, you'll have a food and water meter as well. The more full these are, the more health and stamina you'll awake with after a good night's sleep. Let them go empty and a swift death is around the corner. Alongside this then you'll notice a face in the top left of the screen that is half human, half zombie. The more human food and water you consume, the more human you become, and then of course vice versa. Now this one, it resets at the beginning of each day, and the game seems to, so far at least, lean more into the zombie than anything else, but it definitely has a purpose. Zombie will give you increased strength but low speed and defense. Human, that will lower your strength but increase that shield. I am finding this far energy can drain just a little bit too quickly, so expect a whole lot of back and forth to your home base just so you can rest up. The first few hours though, relatively slow honestly, and you'll soon learn how to craft items, weapons and so on. The most beneficial for me this far though, it's got to be fast travel to that zombie arms that grab you from the ground, they take you home, and then also a portable tent. This is one-time use, but you don't need to then make that trek back at least, and it definitely kind of saved me some of that grind. The downside though, you won't actually recover quite as much health as if you were sleeping in your own bed. Exploration then, the game will slowly expand, giving you free reign, but it's not the biggest of worlds. It's a game that uses missions to push you across to that next area. So for example, the first town, part is overrun by zombies. You will eventually need to clear them out. Around the world then you'll find combat encounters, of course tons of zombies and so on, but also a huge amount of resources to gather for crafting and characters to talk to, even collectibles and stores. These stores are heavily resourced based, so think food items and materials that may be required for crafting. One thing I'd suggest personally, stock up on health supplies early into your gameplay. They will be essential as you start to face those tougher and tougher opponents. Farming then will be essential to your survival, and not only does it provide you with a steady food supply in game to keep those essential survival meters topped up, but it also doubles as items to sell, and most importantly, it actually is a useful tool for combat. Now that may be a weird idea, but one part of the game I'm yet to discuss is we meet this individual early in the game. He wants to study you, and he does. He uncovers you can control zombies. All you need to do is craft a special tool, kill a human, take their body, and then go ahead and plant it. This video today full of weird sentences. When they rise from the dead though, they go into your inventory and they can then be used in battle. They'll basically follow you around until their health is depleted. Most interestingly though, as you up your crafting table, you can even modify them. An early example, zombie gun turrets. It is a fun system that absolutely works this far, and it's hooked my curiosity to kind of see how crazy things can get. Expect to find things though like seed for food dropped by enemies, and you can also buy them at stores as well, so there is some traditional farming in here as well. Another impact in farming as well worth noting, it's what you water these items with. Some provide human attributes, others zombie, and they all play a part in not only how we shape our character, but their value and use. Naturally, it's worth noting here, you can't just craft anything. Our lead is awarded XP for combat wins and completing main and side quest lines. These points can then be spent on a skill tree, which plays into all facets of the game. Think the combat, the stats, the farming, crafting, and so on. The crafting can get a little bit tiring. I'm not sure I like the fact I'm crafting things like items for fast travel. I feel like that should just be, you know, a given. But that said, it definitely adds a level of tension when it comes to choosing when to, you know, use that particular item. The crafting of course becomes more involved as well. Structures for your home base providing a constant source of resources, potentially weapons become more impressive, and you know, so on from there. The more involved you do get though, the more complicated the resources required become. Combat then will be at the forefront of gameplay, and so often this world is overrun with enemies, and the quests you complete, they're normally going to ask you to leverage this ability. The foes this far, they've come in both a zombie and human form, and the first boss encounter was particularly impressive. A flame-throwing psycho who is sizable, and I wouldn't call them easy to take down. The combat though is pretty much a steady attack alongside a defense mechanism, which is a pretty great looking zombie extension of your body. As you go though, it won't just be about melee weapons but guns as well, and that's when you start to leverage the entire world around you. Think like good old exploding barrels. I am going to say here then though, this is by far the weakest element of the game this far. It's not that the gameplay is bad here, just kind of mindless if anything. It uses the triggers to attack. Things kind of quickly devolve into button mashing at best, you know, as enemies are overwhelming you. The big problem for me though, the auto, like it seems temperamental at best, and often switching our focus to another enemy can prove frustrating, as it seems it chooses everyone but the foe you want. As I got a shotgun in my hands for the first time around the 6-hour mark, I felt like that made it a little easier for me. I could take on more at once, but what I would say is I started on the skill tree for weaponry pretty late. It might be worth diving into here first. Outside of that, for problems, it's definitely a grind of a game at points. As I say, I'm a good 7 hours in, and that's been a whole host of fetch quests. What doesn't help here is it's the writing. Every time the character, you know, we're interacting with someone, they'll say, oh, we'll take you to the Ark after this mission. There always seems to be one more job. That said though, the fetch quests, they do at least contain some variety in their goals. Will it keep me coming back though is the question. I've just reached the second of 3 areas it seems, and from what I can tell, this is pretty much all of the gameplay at this point. It's going to be kind of a case of rinse and repeat for the rest of the experience. I will keep going, just prepare for those mechanics to slowly evolve, but I wouldn't say it's going to push much beyond, you know, the scope of them. I think one final note here as well is, realistically, I've seen all elements of this game done better, never combined though, so yeah, I guess we can call it unique. That is not a bad thing, it's definitely a unique spin on these ideas, and I think that's what's got me so intrigued at this point. Graphics and audio, then I'll keep quick. Visually, I like what we get: a desert landscape, a towering city. It ticks all of the post-apocalyptic boxes, and there's some unique and exaggerated character designs in here as well, particularly like our doctor that's researching our form, but also then the first boss encounter. Visually it's fine though, it won't blow you away, but the combat looks visceral, it carries some weight, and then the performance this far has been more than fine. One problem, if anything, I would say the camera angle. That isometric look feels like it's tilted a little bit of a high angle, but also a little bit too close. You can't really see all of that far ahead of you. Audio then, it's generic music, some good crafting and audio cues, especially combat, and there is some voice acting. It's the occasional line of dialogue here and there. It's for sure B-movie, and I'd say the quality varies. So that is an introduction to Deadcraft and my first 7 or so hours hands-on. It's a unique idea that while it stumbles in some areas, this far it works. I've been having fun with it, but I'm just a little concerned now. I've uncovered everything and it's going to be, I guess, another 10 or so hours of this ahead of me. The writing has some decent moments though, there's a decent cast, and honestly, for the price point, it's around 25 bucks. I think that definitely feels fair. Have you checked it out though? Let me know in the comments down below. Will you be adding it to the library even? With that, then a shout out to the patrons of the channel who are going above and beyond to support SwitchCorner. It helps more than you know, so thank you all so much. Then hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here. Join our growing family, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.